At 6:12 a.m., I woke up to voices in my kitchen. Not one voice. Not two. At least five. I stayed still, listening. Drawers opening. Someone laughing. A man coughing like he lived there. Something felt off. I checked my phone. No messages. No missed calls. No explanation. I walked out slowly, barefoot, still in my sleep shirt. And there they were. Suitcases. Coats over chairs. A kid sitting at my dining table eating cereal like it was his. My future mother-in-law stood by the stove, flipping eggs. She looked up and smiled like I was the guest. "Oh, good, you're up," she said. I didn't respond right away. I just looked around. That's when I saw Daniel, my fiance, carrying in another box from outside. He didn't look surprised to see me. "Hey," he said casually, like this was normal. "They got in late last night." I nodded once. I shouldn't have noticed how comfortable he looked. I shouldn't have noticed how none of them asked me anything. No one said, "Is this okay?" No one even paused. I kept it to myself. I walked to the sink, poured a glass of water, and stood there quietly. His mother kept talking, something about space, about how it made sense before the wedding. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't argue. I didn't react. Because something in me told me this wasn't just about a few extra people in the house. It felt planned. Carefully planned. And I had a feeling I wasn't supposed to question it. That's when everything shifted, even if no one else could see it yet. I went back to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. I stared at the wedding dress hanging across the room. And for the first time, I didn't feel excited. Something was wrong. I just didn't know how far it went yet. But I was about to find out. I stayed in the bedroom for another 10 minutes before going back out. By then, the house felt different. Full. Loud. Occupied. His mother had rearranged my kitchen. My mugs were gone from their shelf. A different set sat in their place. I noticed that. I didn't say anything. Daniel was at the table now, eating with them. Laughing. Like this had been the plan all along. I pulled out a chair and sat quietly. "Coffee?" his mother asked. I nodded. She handed me a cup like she was doing me a favor. I took a sip. It wasn't how I made it. I shouldn't have noticed that either. "So," she said, "it just makes sense for us to stay here until after the wedding. No point going back and forth." I looked at Daniel. He didn't look at me. "It's only for a bit," he added, still focused on his plate. I gave a small nod. "Of course." That was all I said. But I was already thinking. Because this wasn't about timing. This was about control. His brother walked past me and opened the fridge like it was his. A woman I didn't know, his cousin I think, was folding laundry on my couch. My couch. I watched it all happen in silence. No one asked. No one checked. No one even pretended. I stood up, took my coffee, and walked toward the hallway. Daniel finally spoke. "You okay?" I turned back and gave a small smile. "Yeah. Just tired." He nodded like that explained everything. And maybe to him it did. But I wasn't tired. I was paying attention. Because people show you who they are in small moments. And this wasn't small. This was something else. Something bigger. I went back into the bedroom and closed the door again. This time I locked it. Then I sat down and opened my laptop. Not to work. To check something. Something I suddenly felt like I should have checked a long time ago. The first thing I checked was the house. Not the rooms. The ownership. It took less than 5 minutes to pull up the documents. And that's when I saw it. Daniel's name wasn't the only one on it anymore. His mother's name had been added. 3 weeks ago. I sat back slowly. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't been told anything. But there it was. Official. I shouldn't have noticed how calm I felt. No panic. No anger. Just clarity. I kept digging. Bank access. Shared accounts. Small transfers I hadn't paid attention to before. Nothing huge. Just consistent. Quiet. Like someone moving pieces without making noise. I heard a knock on the door. "Hey," Daniel said. "You've been in there a while." I closed the laptop halfway. "Just finishing something." "You good?" I looked at the door. "Yeah." Pause. Then his voice dropped a little. "Mom just wants things to go smoothly this week." I didn't answer that. Because I knew what that meant. I opened the laptop again after he walked away. Scrolled further. Utilities. Bills. Even the internet account had been switched to his name only. That was new. I hadn't missed payments. I hadn't asked for changes. So why change it? I stared at the screen for a long moment. People don't make this many moves at once by accident. They prepare. They set things up. They assume you won't notice. I closed everything and sat still. That's when I understood something simple. This wasn't about helping before the wedding. This wasn't temporary. This was a transition. And I wasn't included in it. Not really. I stood up slowly, walked to the mirror and looked at myself. Calm, steady, thinking. Because now I knew enough. Not everything, but enough to stop reacting and start planning. I didn't confront him right away. I waited until that evening. The house was still full, loud, busy. Like I didn't exist unless someone needed something. Daniel was on the balcony, scrolling through his phone. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. He looked up. Hey. I leaned against the railing. Why is your mom's name on the house? He froze. Not long. Just a second. But I saw it. What do you mean? He asked. I didn't raise my voice. I checked today. He exhaled slowly like I was being difficult. It's temporary, he said. Just paperwork. For tax reasons. I nodded once. And the accounts? I asked. Utilities? Transfers. He rubbed his face. Look, you're overthinking this. That word. Overthinking. I stayed quiet. He kept going. Mom said it would be easier if everything was under one structure before the wedding. Cleaner. Less stress. For who? I asked. He didn't answer that. Instead, he said something else. You know, once we're married, it's all shared anyway. That's when it clicked. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just clear. This wasn't about the wedding. This was about removing me before it even happened. Legally. Quietly. Completely. So where do I fit into this? I asked. He hesitated. And that hesitation told me everything. We'll figure it out, he said. Not we already did. Not don't worry. We'll figure it out. I gave a small smile. Okay. He relaxed a little, thinking that was enough. Thinking I'd let it go. I didn't argue. I didn't push. I just nodded and went back inside. Because now the truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was right there. Simple. He had already chosen. And I was no longer part of the plan. I walked past his family, past the noise, into the bedroom. Closed the door. Locked it again. And this time, I didn't feel confused. I felt focused. Because if they thought I hadn't noticed, they had no idea what I was about to do next. I didn't cry. Not that night. Not the next morning either. I moved carefully. Quietly. Like nothing had changed. I woke up early before anyone else and started with small things. I opened a new bank account in my name only. Transferred what was mine. Not everything at once. Just enough not to raise flags. Then I changed passwords. Email. Cloud storage. Work files. Anything they could access I locked down. By the time the house woke up, I was already dressed, already calm. His mother was in the kitchen again. Can you pick up groceries later? She asked. I nodded. Sure. I shouldn't have agreed. But I needed time. Daniel barely looked at me that morning. That helped. It meant he thought everything was under control. That I had accepted it. I hadn't. I spent the day out but not shopping. I went to the bank. Then a lawyer. I didn't say everything. Just enough. Ownership questions. Asset protection. Timing before marriage. The lawyer didn't look surprised. That told me this wasn't new. People do this more than we think. I went back home in the evening with grocery bags in my hands. Played my part. Cooked dinner. Listened to them talk about the wedding like nothing had shifted. I watched. I paid attention. Every comment. Every look. They were comfortable. Too comfortable. Like they had already won. That night I packed a small bag. Not everything. Just what mattered. Documents. Jewelry. A few clothes. I placed it in the back of my car. Out of sight. I came back inside and locked the door behind me. No one noticed I had stepped out. No one asked. That confirmed it. I was already invisible to them. Which made what I was about to do a lot easier. The next morning I started collecting proof. Not in a dramatic way. Just small things. Photos of documents on Daniel's desk. Screenshots of account changes. Emails I hadn't paid attention to before. I moved slowly, carefully. Nothing that would alert them. His mother had a folder in the living room. Papers spread out like she was organizing something official. I waited until she stepped away. Then I flipped through it. There it was. A draft agreement. Not for the wedding. For after. Property structure. Asset division. Names listed. His mother's. Not mine. I took pictures quickly and put everything back exactly how it was. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. Later that afternoon I called the lawyer again. This time I shared more. Dates. Documents. Changes without consent. He listened quietly. Then he said, "Do not sign anything. And don't wait too long." I understood what he meant. Timing mattered. That evening Daniel mentioned a meeting. "Mom set something up for tomorrow," he said. "Just to finalize things before the wedding." I nodded. "Of course." He smiled, relieved. That was the first real emotion I saw from him in days. Relief. Like everything was falling into place. I held that moment in my head. Because it told me one thing clearly. They expected me to walk into that meeting and agree. Sign whatever they put in front of me. Hand everything over quietly. I went to bed early that night. Didn't say much. Didn't need to. Because I already knew. I wouldn't be the one surprised tomorrow. The meeting was set for 10 a.m. I arrived 5 minutes early. Not nervous. Not rushed. Just prepared. Daniel was already there with his mother. A man in a suit sat across the table. Papers neatly stacked in front of him. No one looked surprised to see me. That said enough. "Good you're here," his mother said. "Let's make this quick." I sat down. The man introduced himself. Legal advisor. He slid the documents toward me. I didn't touch them right away. I let the silence sit for a second. Then I opened the folder slowly. Everything I expected was there. Transfer clauses. Ownership terms. My name barely mentioned. I looked up at Daniel. He gave me a small nod. Like this was normal. Like I should just sign and move on. I closed the folder gently. "I won't be signing this," I said. No raised voice. No emotion. Just clear. The room shifted instantly. His mother leaned forward. "What do you mean?" I met her eyes. "I mean exactly that." Daniel frowned. "We talked about this." "No," I said calmly. "You explained." I listened. That shut him up. I placed my phone on the table. Tapped the screen. Photos appeared. Documents. Dates. Transfers. Everything they thought I hadn't seen. The advisor's expression changed first. Then Daniel's. His mother didn't speak. "I've already spoken to my lawyer," I added. Quiet. Controlled. "And I've documented everything." No one interrupted me now. Because this wasn't a discussion anymore. It was exposure. I stood up slowly, picked up my bag. "You can keep the house," I said. Pause. Then I added just as calmly. "But you won't be keeping me." And that's when it finally hit them. This wasn't going the way they planned. I didn't rush out. I walked. Steady. Calm. Like I had all the time in the world. Behind me no one called my name. That was the part that stayed with me the most. Not anger. Not shouting. Just silence. By the time I got to my car, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Not happy. Just clear. I drove straight to the bank first. Closed the remaining shared access. Confirmed everything was separated. No loose ends. Then I went back one last time. The house was still full. Still loud. But something had changed. They looked at me differently now. Not like I belonged. Not like I was invisible either. Just unsure. Daniel stepped toward me. "We can fix this," he said. I shook my head. "No," I replied. "You already fixed it." He didn't argue. He knew. I walked past him into the bedroom. Took the last of my things. Nothing dramatic. No scene. Just quiet movement. His mother stood in the hallway watching. She didn't say a word. That told me everything. I carried my bag outside, placed it in the car, and closed the trunk. Before getting in, I looked back once. Not at the house. At the door. At the life I almost stepped into. Then I got in and drove away. No second thoughts. No hesitation. Some people lose everything in a moment. I didn't. I saw it coming. I paid attention. And I left before they could take anything from me that mattered. That note I left on the kitchen counter said only one thing. I noticed. And that was enough.